And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God made a farmer.
Howdy folks, I'm Darren, and welcome to 8th Day Chronicles here at Cross Timbers Farm. Glad to have you with us on this beautiful late fall, almost winter day. Farm chores are a constant, and we really enjoy this lifestyle, and it's a blessing from the Lord. I'm out here today in short sleeves. Our weather's like a roller coaster. Cold one day, warm the next. We're going to enjoy this warm day. About mid-60s today. Nice weather. Back in last fall, a little over a year from now, Hurricane Helene hit this area. One of our casualties was this running shed. Hurricane Helene blew it over in the wind and blew it right up against a locust fence post. And that fence post is about a 6x6, true 6x6. That post was milled on a portable sawmill, so it's squared. And when the wind blew it over and it landed on that post, those square corners knocked some holes in this roof. And back during the early summer, we were planning on maybe putting some hay in it. So I got out here and patched some of the holes. I missed one. And one of the places I fixed, I put another piece of tin over it, but it had been so dented that the tin that's up there has got a dent in it going down to a hole. Okay, I put another piece of tin over it, but the water's running here and running that dent down and still going inside. And I can't get under it to push the dent out because where the hole is and the dent is right under a rafter. So we're just going to have to try to patch another piece of tin on top of it to keep the water off that area where it can't run in there. We've already patched the smaller hole, and we're fixing to start on that bigger area where the dent is. It's more in the middle, so it's going to take a longer piece of tin. And I'm about out of tin. All I'm doing is using scraps. And I don't want to go buy a whole sheet of tin just to fix one hole. So I'm going to try to make these scraps work, even if I have to piece them. Because this is not our home. This is not anything other than a running shed. So I'm not going to go spend more money on something. I think I can just patch with pieces. And that's the frugality and necessary things sometimes to do on a small family farm when your budget matters. Use what you have. And we've got some scrap pieces of tin from the original builds of these sheds probably 4 years ago. I had some tin left over. It's the same tin, and we're going to just try to patch it together and see if we can't get this fixed. I've got a scrap piece of tin here, and I really need a piece with 2 ribs, about 3.5 to 4 feet long. I'm gonna measure in a minute, but I think I can piece this one to make work what I need up here to seal off this leak. And you can see on the rafter where it's been leaking. And we're gonna be putting these running sheds back into use since we're bringing livestock back on our farm. And you'll have to pardon the chicken noise behind me. We're near our coops. And speaking of chickens, we had a situation the last night or two with our chickens. Our farm dog, Oakley, she's wonderful. And she guards everything around these pastures, and especially around the barn and chicken coop right now since we don't have any livestock other than the chickens, for now. The last night or two, she's been barking a lot at night, which is unusual for her. Oakley don't bark unless something or somebody's around that shouldn't be. And this morning, I've seen evidence of something around our chicken coop. Things just kind of knocked around up where the dog wouldn't been bothering them. I've seen on our chicken coop, we got 2 coops, and one of them is not in use at the moment. we're only using one. And something had been messing around that one coop, had knocked a little place of a vent out. And it was obvious something was going on because Oakley had been barking at night. Well, this morning, Susan come in, my wife, from, she came out this morning and took care of the chickens, let them out of the coop and things of that nature. And she reported a possum was out here that Oakley had apparently cornered up on a chicken coop roof, and it was still up there like it's afraid to come down because Oakley's going to get it. So if you raise chickens, you know that a possum is bad news. They're about as bad as a raccoon or a fox or a coyote. Possums will raid your eggs. They'll kill chickens if they can get a hold of them. And when we have them locked in at night, if it could have got in that coop, it would have killed chickens. So that thing had to be eradicated. So I took care of that this morning. And thanks to Oakley for keeping everything on guard out here. She's going to have even a bigger job soon when those sheep come to the farm. So we're going to see if we can measure this and see if we can't get this going and get this hole fixed. If you're doing just a small piece, these little 10 snips work fine. Just be careful when you're working with 10, not cut yourself. That can happen really easily. Okay, I think that'll work. We're just going to have to piece it together here. Got our running shed roof fixed. Lots of people, I've said before, if you talk to a lot of sheep farmers, a lot of them don't even have shelters for their sheep. And that's fine. I have nothing against that. Matter of fact, if we didn't already have 2 of these running sheds built for our goats, when we had goats, I don't know that I'd build them just for sheep. But because we've got them, and we have very little windbreaks on this farm, tree lines next to the pastures for the animals to get up against, things like that. These sheds are going to be beneficial to us, I believe. And they're portable, movable, running sheds. And if you're interested in these sheds, we done a video on those a couple years ago describing how we build them and things of that nature. And I'll put a link to this video at the end of this video. There'll be a click on the next video to play and it'll play that video for you. So these things are great, and Hurricane Helene damaged the roof on this one, but it's fixed. And they might even be beneficial during the summer for shade. So we're going to use them. We've got them. They're very well built and sturdy, and we can move them anywhere on our pastures that we want them. So we'll just keep moving them occasionally in our rotational grazing system and put a shelter there for them to get in it if they want to. They may not even use them, I don't know, but we'll see. They'll be there and available if they do. Bringing sheep to our farm for the very first time we've ever had sheep is going to be a learning experience. There's going to be a learning curve with everything that you do in life, basically. So we raised goats for years. We know goats. We know how to raise goats. And everybody tells us just repeatedly Darren, if you had no problems with goats, like with your fence and raising them, you're gonna have no problem with sheep. So matter of fact, sheep is a lot easier. Is that true? I don't know. I've heard that a lot, so we're gonna find out. Another busy day on the farm. Went to the farm store yesterday evening and picked up some more rotational grazing supplies. And we're heading to the barn to get us a tall bucket. Go back to the truck to unload some of this stuff in. And we're preparing every day, a little bit every day, for our livestock to come to the farm. You don't want to bring a bunch of animals here and not be prepared for them. So we're preparing. We have got to get our fence charger for the main hayfield or the main pasture back in shape. And it's all there and all in good shape, other than just replacing the battery. Our charger system that we built. It's right here. I'm gonna spin the camera around and let you see it. The box and everything is here. All the connections are still made. The solar panel's not hooked up, obviously, because there's no battery in there. We took our charger and our solar controller out of the box and have them stored inside in the dry because we've not been using them in the last year or longer. But everything's still in place. All we gotta do is just hook it back up and buy a new battery, a 12-volt deep cycle marine battery or RV battery for it. It's what you need when you're using this type of setup. As you can see, we still have our solar panel, but it's not hooked up. It's right there's the connections, and our box is still here. All the connections in place where it comes underground up to our fence. And then we have all of our grounding rods still in place. There, and there's another one on down there. 3 grounding rods, 10 feet apart. And our box is still right next to the solar input. There will be a few places on the fence that we'll need to straighten up and tighten up and things like that. But that'll be coming. We're not going to have livestock in the main field or the main pastures probably for a month after they get here. We're going to rotational graze our front section of the fields first, because those animals will be closer to our home, where we can keep a little better eye on them until they get used to us and our farm, and we'll start moving them from there. We're starting back with rotational grazing soon, and we're having to replenish all of our rotational grazing supplies. And one important item in any type of rotational grazing is going to be your step-in fence posts. Those temporary posts, most of them are around 4 foot tall, and there's a couple of different types you can buy. And while we did rotational grazing with our goats a couple years ago, I learned a lot about what I like and what our farm is best suited for versus what's out there and what some other people may use. There's no wrong or right answer. Just so it works for you, that's all that matters. We tried, last time, we bought several $100s worth of those temporary step-in posts that have a spike on the bottom, and they're the common ones. They're kind of squared and they have clips up them. You can get them in white or yellow or purple. There's all kind of colors of them. We had white ones, same thing. And while they worked okay for our application, I just did not like them all that well. The reason is the clips kept breaking. I don't know how many that I had that the clips broke on, and quite frustrating because they might only be $2.50 a piece, but when you just buy 100 of them and the first time you use them, five of them break clips, and then the next time you use them, 2 more break. And I'll show you one. I kept one when we sold all of our rotational grazing supplies. I kept just a few temporary step-in posts, and we had a mixture of those white ones, the square ones, and some fiberglass ones. And I much prefer the fiberglass ones with the clips. I've got 2 of them stuck in the ground here side by side. There's the 2 posts, and I've got a pretty model back there in Oakley. But there's the 2 posts. The one on the right is the fiberglass with the black clips, and here's the other one. It's just plastic. You can see the clips on it. Okay, if you go down, you may think, well, what's the problem with those? Let me keep going down. Bingo! Clips broke. I don't know how many I had to do that. Break off at various places. These, I never had a clip break. These fiberglass ones are much more flexible than the white ones or the squared ones, plastic ones. I much prefer these fiberglass ones, much prefer them, at least with poly rope or poly twine. And that's what we use, is poly twine, and it's what I've ordered again on reels. And I much prefer the fiberglass ones. You can even bend these fiberglass ones to make braces in the corners. Let me show you that. But you can bend them into, just like that, a corner where that's not going to go. The fiberglass part's very flexible, and you can bend them to make a corner without having to use something heavier like a T-post or something. And they just snap right back into place. I really like these posts a lot better than the white ones or the square plastic ones. And they have a foot peg where you can just step on them and push them right in the ground. You know, if you hit a rock or something, you may have to move a few inches. But they go right in the ground, really good, sharp on the bottom from when you buy them, and ready to go in the ground. They work really, really good. These are by far my favorite. We'll be buying probably a few more. That's about 25 right there. That'll get us good and started. We used to use these, and I don't buy them anymore. Much rather have these. That's a personal preference. If you like the squared plastic ones, there's nothing wrong with that. Matter of fact, they're probably more popular. But everybody has their own taste in what they like, and I like the fiberglass ones much better. Your mileage may vary. Back at it. time for a break. You know, this farm, our little farm here, is a respite for us from this crazy world. Here on the farm, you're just alone with the farm, or alone with your wife or your husband or your spouse, and it's just a peaceful place for us. It's a reprieve from the world. And man, I'm telling you, the world's got so crazy, and it's just crazy out. Things going on in this world, it's just chaos, and country about divided and all that type of stuff. And I'm not going to get political. 1 Thessalonians 4:11 says that ye study to be quiet and do your own business, to work with your own hands as we commanded you. And you won't find no better thing for that than life on a farm. If you watch TV and documentaries and stuff about farming and small family farms, they will show you the glamorous, almost romantic type scenes from a farm. And don't get me wrong, there's truth to that. There is more good times than hard times, but that's not accurate. Life's not always up on a mountain. You have valleys too that you're going to go through, and you're going to have, if you start farming, you're going to have sick animals. You're going to have a chicken that dies, or a calf that dies, or something where you have put blood, sweat, and tears into it. You're going to have a storm come along and knock down a lot of your fences. Lots of hard work involved to recoup from, but I'd have it no other way. There is nothing to me more pure and more honorable than farming. From big farms to small farms. And a small family farm that's not corporate. And no matter how small, no matter if you just raise a few pigs and slaughter them and take them to the market, and that's all you do. I mean, if you're farming, you're farming. There's no gauge of you have to be this big of an operation, or this small, you're excluded, or whatever. If you farm, you farm. And if you farm very heavily, even on small farms, if you really involved in it, man, I'm telling you, you better be ready to work. These documentaries and things on farms and homesteading and, you know, small farms, they don't do it justice. You need to be ready to have mud under your fingernails and dirt in your eyes and sweat on your brow. Even in cold weather, sweat on your brow, and out feeding animals in almost white out conditions in the snow, to baling hay in 100 degrees. It's not for the faint of heart, and it is not for the lazy. If you think farming's just going to be all the romantic stuff out here, you know, petting a newborn goat kid, or harvesting your first tomatoes, and you know, the glamorous side of it, man, that's only a small portion of it. There's a lot of hard work goes into farming, and stuff that has nothing to do with what TV or YouTube or something would show you is the fun part of farming. Behind the scenes, if somebody's really farming, they're working. And if they have a successful farm, or even a 3/4 successful farm, they're hard workers. There's a lot of work, time, sweat, and effort that goes into it, but the rewards of it are innumerable. In this crazy world we live in, man, I can come out here on our farm and I'll work all day doing different chores and different things, and all this crazy stuff in the world is going on by. Man, deer's hard on a fence. Well, it's the next morning. We got quite a bit of work done yesterday evening before dark down in that timber that fell into our pasture and through our fence. Slow progress, going along. When I have a few hours to go work on it, it's going to take probably a full day to finish that and to get all the wood out of the field so we can reinstall the fence, rebuild the fence maybe I should say. This morning I've been out here in the pastures and the hay fields walking around to know the state of our fields and how they're looking. And right now I'm in the west field and I'm in the section here where we cut hay. And man, I can't tell you how much the deer, white-tailed deer, have demolished this hay field. We left it kind of long for winter, and literally it's grazed and browsed down to most of the grass is about maybe 4 inches at the most. Some places right down near the crowns of that orchard grass and the timothy, they've just in it every evening, anywhere from 10 to 20 deer every single evening and night. And you see them early in the morning back out here during the day. They go bed down somewhere. But goodness gracious, we're going to put a dog back here, I think, to let it be the home and keep the deer run out of here. I ain't never in my life seen so much deer, and how literally like a lawnmower they've mowed off this hayfield section of the west field. It's unreal. Really foggy this morning, and we didn't get but like down into the 40s last night. A nice night, and it's going to be a nice day today. They're saying close to 70, and it's getting warm out now. And we've been checking fences, preparing again for livestock to come, and they probably will not be in this pasture for at least a couple of months. But we're getting it ready. Checking fences. We got a lot of fences to fix in this section of the field. This section is the one that has the big section down with all the timber in it. But I've been walking along while I was looking at the grasses and just inspecting the fence, and I've got some broken insulators, mainly from the deer. The deer, if they don't jump the fence, they just try to go through it, and those strands are so close they can't get through it with just about knocking them, tangling them up. They're just deer hair all over everything going through the fence. And sometimes when they try to go through it, they'll put so much pressure on it that they'll bust the insulator. And there's several insulators here broke that I'm gonna have to replace. It's gotten so warm, I'm gonna have to take my jacket off. Yes, I have a Carhartt shirt on. And no, I'm not a Carhartt fan. Not because necessarily of the quality of their clothing, but back several years ago, Carhartt got really on the bad side of a lot of people when they mandated their employees take vaccines for COVID and things like that, and fired them if they didn't. And that didn't sit well with me, and it didn't sit well with a lot of people. And about that time, I swore off buying any new Carhartt clothing. I've got a lot of Carhartt clothing that I'm just wearing. I'm not going to just throw it away, but I'm not buying any more that's new. So what I've got, I've had for several years. But that just didn't sit well with me. Now, I don't want this to turn into a vax or not vax debate. That's not what this is about. It's about freedom. And I have no problem if you worked for Carhartt and you took the vaccines. That's totally your right. And if you didn't want to take the vaccines, that's your right as well. You should not have been fired for that, for your personal freedoms and your personal choices to make your own health decisions. And we'll leave that there. But we talked some yesterday evening about the joys and hardships of farming. You know, farming's not easy, but you couldn't ask for a better lifestyle if you love things out in the country and peace and quiet and growing your own food, however you farm, whether how small or how big. And I was talking about deer a few minutes ago. Right there lays the biggest pile of deer poop. I'm glad I didn't sit in that. There's nothing much more peaceful to me than to come out here like in some of our fields of the mornings or the evenings and just sit down and reflect on my day and reflect on my family and reflect on life. And with all the crazy stuff going on in this world, I mentioned that last night when we were cutting some wood and trimming all that brush out of the field. It's just got plumb crazy, and I don't want this. I've never wanted our channel to turn into political debates or anything like that, and I'm not going there. What I am saying is it's a scary time. If you keep up with what's going on in the world, with the wars and the battles going on and the rise of evil, or so it seems to me, it seems like sometimes that evil is overtaking good. And I don't believe that to be so, but it seems that way at times. And it can be concerning to the person who has good morals, good beliefs, and especially to the Christian. And, you know, there's something to be said about retreating to a small family farm and having the peace and quiet on the farm and everything that the good Lord has provided us. Put on my reading glasses and picked up my phone. I'm going to read something to you. This is out of the King James Bible. John chapter 14 says, "Let not your heart be troubled. Ye believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there ye may be also." And what an inspirational, uplifting couple of verses. And especially the first one. When you see all this evil stuff going on in the world and all the problems, the rise of AI. I don't know if y'all saw some of these things about AI doing cyber attacks, AI having the #1 downloaded country music song from a fake singer, not even real. There's a new movie star out, I think her name's called Lily or something like that. She's supposed to take over the movie industry. There's no AI on this farm, I can tell you that, other than artificial insemination. And we don't do that here, but if you know someone artificially inseminates their dairy cows or something with a vet. But it's a scary time. If you just look at the news and watch the news around the world and the rise of all this stuff that is evil or borderline evil, and you wonder where in the world this planet headed to, what's coming, what's our children going to have to face, things of that nature if the good Lord don't come back soon. But you know, the Bible tells us, let not your heart be troubled. Actually, Jesus said that himself. Don't worry about it. Don't stick your head in the sand and ignore what's going on, but don't lose sleep over it either. Be steadfast and content in your faith, and trust and believe that God's going to provide and take care of you, and just be steadfast in your faith and keep putting one foot in front of the other and keep going forward for Jesus. Thanks for being with us on the farm the last couple of days. I really appreciate that. Our little channel's growing slowly but surely, and we really appreciate every one of our subscribers, every single one. And y'all make this channel, not me and not this farm, but you do, and we really appreciate y'all. The more views we get and the more our little channel grows, the more it encourages us to keep making videos. So I really appreciate it. And if you haven't, we'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe to our channel. Thank you very much for being with us. And I pray God blesses you and your family. And I pray y'all have a fantastic day.